that the House extends the deadline by which the ad hoc committee to investigate allegations made by Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi has to complete its task to the 31st of March 2026.
Some of the potential witnesses who must still give evidence include former Acting Commissioner Khomotso Phahlane, ANC fixer Brown Mokhotsi, and a final appearance by Mkhwanazi. Babalo Ndenze, Eyewitness News.
The fourth suspect arrested in connection with the murder of e-hailing driver Isaac Satlat is now expected to appear in the Pretoria Magistrates Court tomorrow. He handed himself over to police yesterday and was scheduled to appear in court today, but officials say he is currently being processed and not ready for proceedings. Satlat was murdered by passengers who had requested a ride on the Bolt service last Wednesday in Pretoria West. Dimakatso Lishoro reports.
The suspect is expected to face charges of premeditated murder and hijacking alongside his 3 co-accused. The 4 suspects are alleged to have participated in the murder of 22-year-old Satlet, who was reportedly strangled to death last Wednesday after the suspects requested a ride. The incident, which was seen in a video widely circulated on social media, was captured by a dashcam inside his car. His body and vehicle were later discovered in Attridgeville on the same day. The 3 initial suspects previously appeared before the same court on charges of premeditated murder and robbery with aggravating circumstances. Dimakatso Leshoro, Eyewitness News, Pretoria Magistrates Court.
The Special Investigating Unit has instituted civil action against contractors in the Alfred Nzo District Municipality in the Eastern Cape who are embroiled in a 75 million rand tender scandal. Yesterday, 9 people accused of securing and awarding the tender for trucks, water tankers and jet vacuum tankers appeared in the Ekurhuleni court on fraud and corruption charges. The SIU says the tender was awarded to a company called Guana Capital without budget approval. Spokesperson Kaiser Khanyago says the implicated individuals have also been charged with money laundering.
Municipality suffered an actual potential financial loss of 60.7 million due to overcharging and excessive profit margin. The SIU has instituted civil action in the special tribunal to review and set aside the contract and to recover losses suffered by the municipality.
And in Brazil, 5 people have been killed after a fire ripped through an apartment block near Barcelona. The blaze broke out last night in a storage room of the 5-story building in the town of Menlo. 4 others sustained minor injuries and were transported to hospital for medical care. According to Spanish media reports, the victims were young people who had gathered on the top floor of that building. Police have now opened an investigation into the incident. Gold is trading at $4,920.75 an ounce. The rand is at 16.03 to the dollar, 21.79 to the pound, 18.99 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $68.85 a barrel.
Well, at this hour, if you're traveling from Germiston heading into Boksburg, there's an accident seen on the N12 eastbound. That's just before Craft Road, causing huge delays. Expect about a 20-minute delay all the way from the Gilulis interchange, while in the mother city, we still have slow-moving traffic on the elevated freeway heading into the Cape Town CBD, and also there's roadworks causing some delays. This is on the N1 Denoon direction between Hex River Pass and Voortrekker Street.
It's a partly cloudy afternoon in Gauteng. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 23 and 25 degrees, while Cape Town is partly cloudy today with fresh southeasterly winds at a high of 29 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. South Africa's unemployment rate has recorded a slight decrease of 0.5% to 31.4%.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app. You're with Mandy Wiener on 702.
Let's walk the talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
On the show today, a TRC commissioner takes a stand at the inquiry into TRC cases. Unemployment numbers are out, slight decrease to 31.4%. A 4th person hands himself over in the Uber driver murder case. US Ambassador Brent Bozell III arrives in South Africa. And the new Ekurhuleni gold rush. All of that over the next hour.
WhatsApp Mandy
on 072 702 1702.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Midday Report on 702 and Cape Talk with me, Mandy Wiener. Good to be with you. So those unemployment numbers are out. Slight decrease there. It's just not good enough in a country where we have 31.4% unemployment. Massive youth unemployment as well. Two things that drive this home for me. The one is, if you look in Thohoyandou today, there are hundreds, if not thousands of people that have descended on the municipality there, because there are jobs for National Defence Day or something that have been advertised. So you've got thousands of people that are flocking there to try and get any kind of job. And then you've got this bizarre story about this gold rush in Ekurhuleni, where hundreds of residents have descended on a plot of open ground because there were rumors of gold-bearing soil that spread through the community. So it just shows how people are so desperate for any kind of economic improvement in their lives. And if ever you wanted an illustration of unemployment and slow growth, stagnant growth in South Africa, slight improvement, but 31.4% unemployment rate in South Africa. Let me know what your thoughts are about that. Send me a WhatsApp voice note, 072 702 1702, 072 567 1567. And then the US ambassador has finally arrived. US Ambassador Brent Bozell III has arrived in South Africa. What is your advice to him? If you had an opportunity to speak to the new US ambassador, what would you like him to do? How do you think he is going to act? Is he going to work to repair relations? Is that unlikely? How do you think he's going to conduct himself? Send him some advice, if you will, on the WhatsApp line. Let US Ambassador Brent Bozell III know about South Africa and our relationship with the US. I'm sure he's tuned in. I'm sure he's listening to us. If he wants to get a sense of what goes on in South Africa, always a good idea to just listen to the Midday Report. So we'll send him an invitation as well. But let's start today with the fact that the ad hoc committee that's looking at police corruption has just recently been extended to the 31st of March. So an extension on the timeline. We know the Madlanga Commission also due to end around March as well. So are we finally getting some finality on both the ad hoc committee into policing and the Madlanga inquiry? Babalo Ndenze, EWN reporter, joins us now. Babalo, good afternoon to you. Tell us about this extension and why it has been granted.
Yes, good afternoon, Mandy. The extension granted a short while ago by the National Assembly. They held the virtual sitting to deal with this matter exclusively. It was about 5 minutes long. So there were no objections to the motion that was put forward by the ANC's Ntumiseni Nduli. And the House adopted that motion, which means that the committee can now continue beyond what was meant to be the last extension, which was the 20th of February, which was about a week ago. So they would be continuing until the 31st of March. Now, this is the third extension. You'll remember that their first deadline was an October deadline after they had started the hearings into these allegations by Ntlantla. So they could make that October deadline, so they got another extension until the end of November, the 28th of November. They also could not, finish their business by then. There was a Hoshi Mampuru episode where they went and spoke to Kat Matlala up there, but then they couldn't finish their work and got another February deadline for the second extension until the 20th. So this is hopefully the last deadline, the third and last deadline, Mandy. So the members can complete their work. They struggled to meet last week because of all the issues around solar. They can't meet next week as well because, their time's limited because of the budget. This week is out of the question because of the SONA debate over 2 days, as well as the President's response on Thursday. So that was their reasoning for this extension. They need these witnesses to come back. Some of these witnesses include Paul O'Sullivan. It doesn't look like the members are satisfied with the time they had with him. There's also Brent Bozell III, who haven't appeared yet. And also, other members like the former acting commissioner, Khomotso Phahlane, who's also the member, also want one last bite from these witnesses. So extension has been granted, man, and it looks like they'll be getting back to their hearings after the budget, and we'll see more witnesses and more movement. And finally, a draft report will be tabled before the National Assembly.
Babala, what you're describing does sound like a bit like it's stalled, like it's stagnating a little bit. What is the likelihood of this being actually wrapped up in March, or could we see yet another postponement potentially?
Well, Mandy, we can't rule anything out, and the members are expressing themselves during these housekeeping meetings that they don't want to be seen as rushing things. And if an extension is needed, we should grant an extension. But, the feeling one got at the last housekeeping meeting is that this should be the last, extension. We know that the Malanga Commission has already issued its first report, its first interim report, but that was part of its plan all along. And this committee hasn't issued any report at the moment. And Advocate Norman Arends wants 9 or 10 days to work on the report, the draft report. This is after the hearings. So if the evidence leaders, Mandy, are able to complete that draft report within this extension, it looks like they might be done with their work and might be able to table some kind of report by the end of March. But anything can happen. We know that there are witnesses who've been delaying appearing in front of Mahotsi. They haven't met with him, and it looks like 24th of February is the Prime Mahotsi day. But it will depend on whether these methods are finalized before then.
Babalo, thank you very much. Babalo and Denze, EWN reporter, speaking to us there. So an extension now for the ad hoc committee on police to the 31st of March. Yesterday we told you how the Madlanga Commission, Witness F, was hospitalized. So that's a delay there as well. But it's also supposed to wrap up in March. Do you feel like we're getting finality here on the ad hoc committee on Madlanga as well? Or do you think that it's going to take much, much longer? I think we've done fairly well in terms of hearing witnesses, of making progress. And I think we do need to be patient with this. I don't think you can remedy it in such a quick period of time. As I always say, sunlight is the best disinfectant. At least we are hearing about it. Which of the two processes do you think has been more beneficial to us? Have you been following one more than the other? For me, I think the Madlanga inquiry has had more decorum. I feel like the ad hoc committee has had a lot of political grandstanding to it. It has very much been running in parallel, and there has been some duplication. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
702. Mandy Wiener.
Weekdays, 12 to 1 p.m.
Well, from one inquiry to another, and the Truth and Reconciliation Commission cases inquiry. Remember, this is the one that's looking at the TRC cases. Today, due to hear testimony from one of the commissioners of the original Truth and Reconciliation Commission. So it's kind of like a bit of a full circle moment. So Yasmin Suka was one of the 17 commissioners as a human rights lawyer and an activist on the TRC Commission. And today she is testifying at this new TRC inquiry. Does that make sense to you? Khomotso Modise, EWN reporter, joining us now. So Yasmin Suka testifying today. Just remind us who she is.
So Yasmin Suka was one of the 17 commissioners in the original TRC. She also led the Human Rights Committee that basically looked into a lot of these testimonies as well as the crimes that had been committed. And she was one of the people that led the process of handing over the final volumes of the TRC Commission report to President Thabo Mbeki. And so her testimony is very valuable today before the TRC cases inquiry. That's how I draw a distinction between the two. So I call the one the TRC Commission, which is the original one, and then I call this one the TRC cases inquiry. So she's currently testifying at the cases inquiry, and her testimony is really enlightening and eye-opening for two reasons. First, she's given details of the steps that were taken or events that happened following the handing over of that final report to President Thabo Mbeki. And she's spoken about clear attempts, according to her, that show that the government of the time was really working against ensuring that there is justice for the victims of those apartheid-era crimes.
There's always been like this great conspiracy,
Absolutely.
right? That they were never actually going to action any of these TRC cases.
Yes, and she's pointed out events from, the initial, that I think it was in 2007, when there were proposed amendments to the NPA Act, to the guidelines that had been proposed by the TRC. And those amendments, Mandy, would have seen, many of the perpetrators getting away with a slap on the wrist. One of the suggestions suggestions was that if a person shows commitment to reconciliation, a perpetrator shows commitment to reconciliation, then, that's reason to decide that they don't proceed with prosecution. Now, of course, that was challenged in the High Court, and the person who was spearheading and really leading that process was Thembi Nkadimeng, the minister. Simelane now. Then she was Nkadimeng. She was leading the process, challenging that, because that would mean that the perpetrators behind the murder of her sister, Nokuthula Simelane, would get away with just saying, we are committed to reconciling. So that was one of the processes that Yasmin Sooka has spoken about. The second one is this process of a presidential pardon that President Thabo Mbeki had, embarked on, saying that they're going to be pardoning certain perpetrators or alleged perpetrators of apartheid-era crimes that were not granted amnesty. That also was challenged in the High Court, and of course that he was, he was interdicted from going ahead with that process. But then the matter went all the way to the Constitutional Court, and this is the interesting part for me, Mandy, because the question has been, yes, we've heard so many allegations about former President Thabo Mbeki, but very little about former President Jacob Zuma. And the question is, why is he also being implicated, and how is he implicated? Well, today, Yasmin Sooka has testified that in the process, in that case that went to the Constitutional Court, where one of the alleged perpetrators wanted the presidential pardon process to go ahead, former President Jacob Zuma was part of that case, and he was supporting the alleged perpetrators. That's according to the testimony of Yasmin Sooka. And she says it was very clear to see and very telling that two presidents who came one after the other were clearly working against the process and the steps towards ensuring justice for the victims of those crimes.
I'm curious to know if she's been asked to express any kind of personal sentiment about whether she and the other commissioners had hopes or aspirations for these cases, and whether there would have been an expectation that they would be far further down the road.
Not yet, but I'm sure that she's coming to that. She is currently testifying. What I can tell you is that she's gone beyond her role as just a TRC commissioner. She was she's director at the Foundation for Human Rights, and she's been working very closely with the victims and the family members of those victims. She was part of the case that Thembi Simelane took to the High Court. And so for her, it does really sound like a personal project that she'd taken on. But I'm certain that she'll be giving more as she testifies throughout the afternoon.
Fascinating. Khomotso, thank you very much. Khomotso Modise, EWN reporter, speaking to us there about Yasmin Sooka, one of the 17 commissioners at the original TRC, today testifying at the TRC cases inquiry.
The Outsurance pointsmen know that every car on the road carries a story. There's a car with a parent and a nervous but excited kid practicing her lines to put on a show-stopping performance at the school play. The Outsurance pointsmen know it's not just a car in traffic, it's a future superstar on the move. Every story's different and every story matters. That's why the Outsurance pointsmen have been doing what they do since 2005, in proud partnership with 702. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
Different sounds, different worlds.
Different artistic expressions, music, art, and fashion collide. Are you coming? Let's go to the place where the beat drops, the fashion pops, and the art rocks.
We're talking Focalistic, Dali Wonga, Mafigi Zolo, Kurt Darren, Matera Doughboy, Zoe Mudicha, Claire Johnston from Mango Groove, the Tswani Gospel Choir, and more. Mahindra Fusion Fest, Saturday 7th March, Sunbet Arena. Tickets on Ticketmaster now. See you there.
To walk the talk is to turn words into meaningful actions. And it's what we at 702 are committed to doing every day. We're also committed to following the rules set out by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission's Code of Conduct to give you balanced programming, fair comment, and accurate news. But if we stumble along the way and you feel we're not living up to the code, let us know on comment@702.co.za. And if after that you're still not happy, you can direct your complaint in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission, PO Box 412365, Craig Hall 2024. For more, visit bccsa.co.za. WhatsApp Mandy
on 072 702 1702.
Afternoon, Mandy. In response to which has been the more successful, Madlanga or ad hoc? In Parliament, I think Madlanga has been more successful, but the ad hoc committee has been interesting in that one has got a glimpse of a new tranche of young politicians, for better or worse. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye.
Good day, Mandy. Yes, we welcome the ambassador from the United States. May he please find 1, 2, or 3 white farmers that their farm has been taken so he can report back to the big boss. Said, yes, boss, I have people here whose farm has been taken. Freddy from Kempton Park.
Good luck to him for trying to find that. Pemba says, hi Mandy, I would welcome the US ambassador and urge him to strengthen relations through diplomacy and to work strictly with the elected government of national unity. I would warn him that working or colluding with fringe right-wing groups like AfriForum, Solidariteit and Cape Independence will be cause for his immediate expulsion. That's Mpemba from Winchester Hills. Good advice there. Thank you very much. So I asked you, what is your advice for the new ambassador from the United States, Leo Brent Bozell III, who's arrived in the country and is going to present his credentials to the President of South Africa? Well, let's get some analysis on this now with Dr. Oscar van Heerden, international relations expert. Dr. van Heerden, good afternoon to you. Thanks very much for your time today. So what's in the in tray, on the to-do list for Leo Brent Bozell III?
Good afternoon, Mandy, and good afternoon to your listeners. Well, according to the ambassador, he made it very clear to the Senate committee that confirmed him in Congress that he has a very clear agenda. One, he wants to convince the South African government to withdraw its case against Israel at the International Court of Justice for genocide. Two, he wants to fix relations between the United States and South Africa with regards to a bipartisan relationship, and that translates into the still contested bilateral trade agreement and just general relations with each other. And three, he wants us to move away from having undesirable friends such as Iran, Russia, China, and so forth. A very ambitious program, but this is what he has set out to achieve.
And how receptive do you think the South African government will be to that?
Well, I mean, the South African government, look, there's rumors, Mandy, about will his credentials be recognized by President Ramaphosa in lieu of the fact that Ibrahim Rasool was declared a persona non grata and asked to leave the United States. And any and every subsequent name that we've put forward has been rejected. But I do think that the South African government, the presidency, is going to accept the credentials of Bozell because, again, they are going to want to demonstrate that they are not petty, that they are the mature person in the room, and that they are open to constructive engagement. And that's the operative word. The South Africans are going to be receptive to whatever the intentions and program of the ambassador is, for as long as it is constructive. But if it is going to be a continuation of wanting to bully, cajole, threaten, and make up lies like the predecessor brigade that spread lies about Lady R and the selling of arms to Russia and so forth, then there's going to be a problem.
I was just going to ask you about where he picks up where Ruben Brigitte left off around the Lady R issue. We've got this Iranian warship issue as well. So aside from the Afrikaners and the farm killings and all of that that messaging from Trump, it's more complex, more layered when it comes to his predecessor as well.
Absolutely. I mean, we're talking about the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine, which of course the Americans and NATO and the Europeans have a vested interest. And they want to obviously manage that with regards to our relationship with Russia. They don't think it's a good relationship. And I think that the ambassador is going to try and impress upon DIRCO and so on to try and move away from that. But also around China, the tension and saber rattling that's constantly there between the Americans and China in the South, the Asia Pacific region, and the fact that China is our biggest trading partner, and we are quite close to both Russia and China because they are part of the BRICS formation. So it's going to be interesting to see how exactly the ambassador is going to navigate these kinds of waters, because one thing that the president has made very clear, even in his SONA address recently, was that we determine our own foreign policy choices. We are not going to be bullied, and we want to be interacting diplomatically with respect, and our sovereignty must be respected.
Dr. Oscar van Heerden, Senior Research Fellow at the Centre for African Diplomacy and Leadership. Thank you very much for that, giving us some analysis there on the new ambassador, U.S. Ambassador Leo Brent Bozell III, who's arrived in South Africa. I can tell you some breaking news coming out of the U.S. is that the U.S. civil rights icon, Jesse Jackson, has passed away. That news breaking just before we came on air. And the Minister of International Relations, Ronald Lamola, has posted on X saying, "We mourn with our brother, Congressman Jonathan Jackson, and family on the passing of our beloved Reverend Jesse Jackson. He was enduring and towering leader of the civil rights movement in the United States of America and a renowned champion of the anti-apartheid movement and struggle." Lala Ngokolo. So that's from Minister Ronald Lamola. That's the statement on the passing of Jesse Jackson, the U.S. rights icon who has passed away in the U.S.
Mandy, my advice for the new ambassador from the States would be just to be honest when he reports back to his bosses and his countrymen. Just tell them that there's no widespread genocide, nobody's farms are being taken. Just be honest. Enough with the rhetoric, enough with the nonsense, enough with the politics. Just say, what I have seen is that everybody's A-okay.
702. Mandy Wiener.
Weekdays, 12 to 1 p.m.
A quick update for you on the case that we covered yesterday. A fourth suspect has now handed himself over in connection with the murder of an e-hailing driver. 3 people appearing in court yesterday. We also spoke to the family spokesperson yesterday as well. Dimakatso Leshoro, EWN reporter, joining us in studio. What do we know, Dimakatso, about this latest person?
All we know, Mandy, is that he handed himself over yesterday to the police. He was wanted. He was aware that he was wanted. And yesterday he went and turned himself over to the police. He was meant to appear in court this morning, but when we got there, we were told by court officials that he's been processed still at the police station. They're not ready for him to appear. They want to prepare in case he wants to apply for bail, so he'll be appearing tomorrow.
Okay, so you actually went to court today.
We
and
did,
there was an expectation he would appear, but didn't.
Yeah, the media contingent was there, all set up, and we just found out just before that actually he was not in court. He was not going to be appearing today.
And police saying anything at this stage about who he is, what the motive may be? Do we have any more clarity on any of that?
You know, there's been no information about this because, I mean, you would have seen the video. We don't know what role he played, if he was part of those who requested, or there's no clarity on that. And we obviously don't want to make any assumptions. We'll find out hopefully tomorrow when we go to court what exactly his role was. As you know, even with the 3 suspects, we only know about the lady and the guy that we saw in the video. But as to the 3rd and 4th, we don't know what their exact roles were.
Dimakatso, thank you very much. Dimakatso Leshoro, EWN reporter, giving us a quick update there on the 4th person who handed themselves over yesterday, will appear in court tomorrow. 12:30, time for Eyewitness News headlines.
Thanks, Mandy. Good afternoon. South Africa's official unemployment rate has dropped to 31.4%, down from 31.9% in the last 3 months of 2025. Releasing the latest figures this morning, Statistics South Africa says employment rose by 44,000 to 17.1 million. It says this was largely due to an increase in seasonal work during the 4th quarter of last year. The National Assembly has granted the ad hoc committee investigating allegations of police corruption another extension. The commission now has until the end of March to complete its work. It comes as the committee struggles to find time to complete gathering evidence from several outstanding witnesses. And veteran U.S. civil rights activist Reverend Jesse Jackson has died. His family released a statement this morning confirming his death at the age of 84. Jackson's family says his unwavering belief in justice, equality and love uplifted millions of people. They have urged the public to honor his memory by continuing the fight for the values that he lived by. Those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 1 or as it happens.
EWN Sport.
A very good afternoon. I'm Tato Muloto. We start at the ICC Cricket Men's World Cup, where New Zealand clinched their place in the Super 8s after chasing down 174 to beat Canada by 8 wickets. For the Proteas, they face the UAE tomorrow, but no worries for them because South Africa are already through to the Super 8, alongside England and a Sri Lankan side who beat Australia by 8 wickets. The unfortunate news for Australia now is that they are on the verge of an exit. In fact, they fate lies in Ireland to today beat a Zimbabwean side that has been exceptional in the tournament so far to stay in that World Cup. Here's Aussies captain Mitch Marsh.
Yeah, I think all three departments really. Obviously, with disappointing from the bowlers' point of view, I think they sort of hit good areas and created opportunities. And unfortunately, we just weren't able to sort of hold on to them. We have those type of days, and I would have liked to have seen the batters obviously navigate their way a little bit better, but no lack of sort of effort and intent to want to try and win the game. So it's just one of those days.
Speaking of Ireland and Zimbabwe, they were supposed to be live right now, but it seems the rain gods are calling the shots today because that coin hasn't yet been tossed because of that rain. At 3:30, we see Nepal with Scotland. And no rugby championship this year. The Springboks now will play Australia in an extra test in Perth happening in September, with the focus also being the greatest rivalry against the All Blacks. In football, the first of two Champions League playoffs start tonight, with Juventus up against Galatasaray. Dortmund host Atalanta, while defending champions PSG are away to Monaco. Back home, no Betway Premiership today. However, tomorrow, table toppers Orlando Pirates come up against current league champions Mamelodi Sundowns. Remember, the Buccaneers are 6 points clear at the top of that log, and I'm sure they would want to keep that lead because the last time they had a taste of the league was back in 2012. Finally, on the tennis court, Ekaterina Alexandrova went down 6-2, 4-6, 6-1 to Magda Linette, who progressed to the Dubai Duty-Free Tennis Championship for the third round. Tato Muloto, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
If you're traveling from Germiston heading into Boksburg, you can expect about a 30-minute delay. This is between the Kilulis Interchange and Croft Road due to an earlier accident. Also, if you're traveling from Edenvale heading into Bedford View, traffic is a bit sluggish on the R24 westbound between Edenvale Road and the Kilulis Interchange. In the mother city, look out for an accident seen on the N1 outbound before Yip de Yaga. There's also slow-moving traffic on the elevated freeway heading into the Cape Town CBD, and also roadworks slowing down traffic. N1 incoming. This is approaching Viaduct. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
From your pet's bowl
to Belito, brew.
Or Barcelona. Maybe Bordeaux?
How about Brazil?
Or Butts, Betty's, Baviance, Bella Bella, or even Benoni. Buy any Hills pet food and you could win one of 10 holidays worth 200,000 Rand each. Or take the bucks. Scientifically proven formulas for your pet. An adventure for you. Hills Pet Nutrition. Science does more. T's and C's apply.
On average, you'll spend 83,200 hours working. That's 3,466 days. 20% of that time will be spent in meetings that should have been emails. 10% spent aligning on the misalignment the previous meeting caused. And the rest of the time, waiting for your laptop to update so you can resend that extremely urgent presentation due yesterday because your boss forgot to download it 2 weeks ago. And now, the link has expired. Oh, life taxes you. So invest tax-free from as little as 250 Rand per month.
Coronation. Trust is earned. Coronation is an authorized FSP.
When they say, let's align, you could book another Teams meeting or you could grab a spirit level and actually get things straight. Forget the corporate talk and join us from the 22nd of January to the 1st of March for the Chamberlain Back to Business promotion. Get amazing deals on everything you need to get going again, from paint mixing and power tools to hardware and building supplies. Plus, serious savings on siteware for clothes that work as hard as you do. Chamberlain, famous for hardware since 1903.
WhatsApp Mandy on 072 702 1702.
Good day, Jane. Great show as usual. Regarding the new ambassador from the United States, Jane, this is all I have to say. The man's history towards apartheid and his support for apartheid is well documented. This is a gentleman who didn't want to see South Africa transition into democracy like America is. He did not believe in one man, one vote. A very, very, very racist individual. Secondly, this man, like many American politicians who are in the pockets of IPAC, he's here to fight Israel's case, not America's case, first of all. He's here to lobby for another country instead of his own country. So it just tells you exactly what he's here for. Not the interest of the American people, but the interest of the Israelis who pay him through IPAC. Thank you.
Hello, Mandy. I don't think the ad hoc committee should be extended. The reason being, they waste time deliberately. All they are doing is punting their own parties. They ask the same questions that the other party has asked. They're just wasting time. If it was Madlanga Commission that was being extended, it would be understandable because they keep to time. They don't waste time. I think it's just a waste of time and money. They just grandstand in this ad hoc committee. Thank you, Penny from Four Ways. Bye.
Hey Mandy, I definitely think that the Madlanga Commission has offered us more, a more kind of professional and a more sound and potentially disinterested look at what's happening. I really have found like the political grandstanding quite marked and quite, it felt like there was a lot of time wasted that could potentially have been spent getting to the bottom of things. And I think like just with the evidence leaders in the Madlanga Commission, just that professionalism and that experience that they have has just been amazing in terms of leading us through all of that evidence, and I've really appreciated them. But then I found like in contrast, the ad hoc committee often felt like there was a lot of time wasting that was unnecessary. So I totally agree with you on that.
I asked her what you think of the Madlanga Commission compared to the ad hoc commission, and that's in light of the fact that there's now an extension on the deadline for the ad hoc committee. Rage Spin says on X, I agree with you, Mandy. The Madlanga Commission is superior to the ad hoc. Madlanga and his fellow commissioners represent the best of the best, world class. The contrast between them and the Tsotsi lying witnesses confronting them is so stark. And then on the advice to the US ambassador, there isn't any room for us to negotiate with Trump's Republican Party. They've shown time and again that they're not interested in anything except self-enrichment and protectionism. We should be waiting out this administration and wait for the inevitable swing back to normalcy. And then Motabane says the new ambassador must be just that, an ambassador, not our president. Remind him that his enemy, or the US enemy, is not our enemy. We're a sovereign state, and he must always respect that. Percy from Centurion.
702, the Midday Report, Monday to Friday.
12 to 1 p.m.
So at the start of the show, I spoke about unemployment. Unemployment figures are out, slight decrease to 31.4%. We'll speak to the Statistician General shortly. But if ever you wanted a demonstration of what the unemployment levels in South Africa, what it actually means. So the one is in Thohoyandou today, where we're seeing thousands of people descending to try and get jobs related to the Defence Day. The second is what is happening in Ekurhuleni with the gold rush. So you have hundreds of people there who are descending on a plot of open ground because there are rumors that the soil is gold bearing. So they've come with their buckets and their spades and their bare hands, and they are now digging for gold. And there are calls for the Defence Force even to be deployed to combat illegal mining. So Nokokanya Mtambo, EWN reporter, is following this for us. Nokokanya, we're seeing this gold rush in springs in Ekurhuleni. Tell us about it.
Yeah, good afternoon, Mandy, and to the 702 landers as well. Slowly starting to lose momentum compared to what we saw yesterday and sometime during the weekend as well. Certainly not as many people as there were then. I'm probably from where I'm standing looking at no more than 40 people. And this is a good mix, Mandy, of not just Zamazamas who operate at another mine not too far from here, but also locals who live at the informal settlement. So just to set the scene for 702 landers who perhaps haven't seen some of the visuals that we've put up, I'm standing in the middle of a cattle kraal, and that's where they're digging. And so some of the locals belong to the shacks just adjacent to this cattle kraal. Some have no idea, Mandy, what they're doing. There doesn't seem to be, at least on their end, a method to what it is that they're digging for. They don't know what the gold-bearing sand would look like. They don't know even if they were to find any, how to then sift it from the waste that is here. So what they're instead doing is depending on some of the illegal miners who are here on site, who are familiar with, the system of mining for small gold deposits and panning the gold at a river probably less than a kilometer, maybe 200, 300 meters from where we are, depending on them, and asking them if this would be, gold that they're seeing or any other sort of material. So quite interesting to see those sort of groups gathering at the different places. We also had a conversation, Mandy, with the owner of this particular kraal, who's actually growing quite frustrated because, and that's Nontombi. She says she's frustrated because you were to, and I'll put it up on EWN's reporter X account in just a few moments. If you were to see what it looks like now, Mandy, it looks like burrows, and it's just heaps of sand here, there, and everywhere. And this is where her cattle usually would be. And so they've had to move the cattle elsewhere down the road to another kraal because, they just had a really random number of people show up on this particular land and start to mine for the gold. She says she had initially tried to make them pay about 20 rand to 50 rand, depending on who and when, really, to try, put together funds to then get an excavator to try level the land again once they're done. But that was obviously unsuccessful. Tensions actually started to rise a little earlier on in the day, Mandy, when she was confronted by some of the locals here who had said they paid her either the 20 rand or 50 rand fee, but hadn't been allowed to come in and mine with the rest of the groups here. And that dissipated quite quickly. We also had EMPD do a short site visit. They scattered quite quickly when they saw Metro Police come onto the scene. They weren't in conversation. Metro Police really didn't do much other than just do a walkabout and have a conversation amongst themselves. There was also a warning, Mandy, from the Department of Mineral and Petroleum Resources, just reminding the people here really that without a proper permit for with a prospecting or mining rights, the activity that they are doing here is illegal. But that's where we stand today, starting to die down just a little.
Nokukanya, thank you so much. Fascinating, that report. Nokukanya Mtambo, EWN reporter in that area around Springs. Michael says, Mandy, what is the chance that we convince people that water hyacinth is gold bearing? Our dams are choked with the scourge. Excellent suggestion there, Mike. I'm not sure that's going to fly. But really, the fact that people are willing to go, I mean, this is, harks back to centuries ago, where we see people sifting for gold, because there may be some potential of wealth. That really speaks to how desperate people are, and also how unregulated this is as well, illegal mining in South Africa.
702. Mandy Wiener.
Weekdays, 12 to 1 p.m.
Well, speaking of regulation, so there was a report in News 24 yesterday that the e-hailing companies like Uber and Bolt could soon be illegal. And that's because they risk breaching South Africa's new regulations if they don't finalize their registration soon. So the new laws were introduced in September last year, and they mandate vehicle branding, more driver info for riders, separate licensing category, panic buttons in all vehicles. But it seems as though none of the companies have actually registered for this. So let's understand this with Colin Msibi, the Department of Transport spokesperson. Colin, good afternoon to you. Thank you very much for your time. Firstly, is this report accurate in the sense that these companies have not yet registered, or are we starting to see compliance?
Well, good afternoon to you, Mandy. And I would say that probably there was some element of truth in it, because the uptake was taking a bit longer. But I also have good news that probably by the end of this month, we're going to announce the companies that have registered. So we are in the process of finalizing that. So we were quite worried at some point that they were not coming on board. I think if you remember, I think it was November or December where we issued a statement just reminding them to come on board to be able to register. The reason is that it takes a while for them to comply. They've got to go to ICASA, for instance, to get some certification before they can even come to the regulator in the department. So that's why probably it's been taking that long. But I can assure you, there's companies that have come through now, they're presenting to the regulator, so we should be able to announce quite soon.
But you can't say at this stage if Uber or Bolt is amongst those.
I wouldn't be able to mention the names as such, but we will announce the names. Probably those have been the most prominent companies in the country in terms of these apps. So probably they could make the list, but I'm not going to say they are part of the.
I understand. So just explain to people why exactly we're seeing this regulation, this requirement. What's going to change?
Well, what's going to change is that there's a lot of illegal operators out there. So with the registration of the app, when you get your operating licenses, you need to indicate to us the app that you are attached to. So without that, we are basically regarded as an illegal operator. So hence, these companies must register with the regulator. And that database is then sent to the provinces where people apply for operating licenses or where operators go. So that's why it's difficult for now for an operator to get an e-hailing operating license, because you don't have the name of the app that you are using because they're not registered as yet, which is soon going to change. So those who've been operating without even the what you call the charter permits or the meter taxi operating licenses, they will be found, because now you can't operate without having this app which is registered. If you continue to do so, that's when the issue of the fine of 100,000 to the app company. So if the app company gives you a permission to operate without you having been registered or having an operating license, the company will be fined 100,000 or 2 years in jail. So that's basically what we're trying to do, to get rid of people who are operating illegally. Because once you have an operating license, it's going to get rid of this destructive competition that we see amongst the e-hailing operators as well as the taxi industry. But if you then have this element of illegal operators, then they just do as they please. And that is why we're trying to regulate that, to get rid of them.
Colin, thank you so much for explaining that for us. Colin Msibi, Department of Transport spokesperson. Are you ready to let go of your ride in the new year? We Buy Cars make it easy and even enjoyable to part ways with your vehicle. Simply complete their form on webuycars.co.za and they'll handle the rest. Looking to upgrade your car? With over 12,000 vehicles for sale, you're certainly spoiled for choice. Visit webuycars.co.za today.
The Outsurance pointsmen know that every car on the road carries a story. Like a man wearing his finest suit on his way to an interview. He's prepped 100 times, but he still has butterflies. The Outsurance pointsmen know it's not just a car in traffic. It's a potential lucky break that could change someone's life. Every story's different and every story matters. That's why the Outsurance pointsmen have been doing what they do since 2005 in proud partnership with 702. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
The Checkers Extravaganza is now on, with over 1,500 deals every week. Like Liquid Fruit 100% fruit juice blend, 2 litres for $49.99. Bon Aqua Pump Still Water, a 750ml 6-pack for $64.99. And Comfort Fabric Conditioner 800ml, buy any 2 and get a third free. Save 63 Rand. Valid until 22 February, only at Checkers, Checkers Hyper, or shop on 6060.
Think radio is out of reach? Think again. With Prime Media Credit, you can get your brand on 947, 702, KFM 94.5 and Cape Talk now and pay later. Flexible finance, big impact. Email advertise@primemedia.co.za. Prime Media Credit, powered by Bridgement.
And now, it's back to Mandy Wiener on the Midday Report.
This is 702.
Let's walk the talk.
12:51 on the Midday Report with me, Mandy Wiener. Unemployment figures are out. The official unemployment rate decreased by 0.5 of a percentage point to 31.4% in the fourth quarter. Let's unpack this with the Statistician General, Risenga Maluleke. Statistician General, as always, good afternoon to you.
Let me greet you, Mandy, and greet the 702 listeners.
Slight decrease. Take us through the numbers.
Well, I don't want us to look at the decrease only in relation to third and fourth quarter. I want us to look at the decrease coming from the second quarter of 2025, where we were sitting at 33.2%. So we actually have gone down from the second quarter to the third quarter at 31.9%, and now we're at 31.4%. So we've gone down by about 2 percentage points, 1.8 percentage points to be exact. So one of the things that we're starting to see is that we're starting to have a turn in terms of the number of those that are unemployment for the better. Of course, the unemployment challenge still remains in South Africa. We will remember at some stage we were sitting at 8.4 million people actively looking for employment. We are now sitting at 7.8 million. So that is a considerable drop over a period of time.
And which industries are driving this, Statistician General?
Well, when we look exactly on quarter, we saw community and social services, which includes government. It gained 46,000 jobs. Construction, which has been depressed for quite some time, has been showing recoveries. In this quarter, it gained 35,000 jobs. So is finance, agriculture, and transport. We have seen, of course, the biggest losses in trade, particularly from the informal sector trade. The trade in general lost 98,000 jobs, but in general, there were more gains than losses.
The unemployment rate among the Black African population remains higher than the national average still.
Certainly. It has been higher than national average for over a decade. And this is the only population group amongst the others that has remained higher, sitting at 35.3% versus a national average of 31.4%. Having said so, the other population groups are lower than national average, with whites not experiencing as much unemployment as any other population group.
Statistician General, thank you so much, as always, Risenga Maluleke, speaking to us there. Very important point he makes, that we've seen 3/4 of decrease now in the unemployment numbers in South Africa. Still not enough yet, though.
The average person will hear their boss say, quick one, 3,476 times during their life. And it's never a quick one. In fact, it's a very long one that forces you to cancel your anniversary dinner at the restaurant with the Michelin star chef and then work through the weekend only to arrive on Monday and be told that the client has decided to go in a different direction. Oh, life taxes you. So invest tax-free from as little as 250 Rand per month.
Coronation. Trust is earned. Coronation is an authorized FSP.
Gauteng is South Africa's economic powerhouse, contributing 34% of the national GDP and driving 60% of the country's exports to the continent. Today on 702 Drive, John Perlman speaks to the GGDA's Muzi Matema as the 2026 Gauteng Investment Conference launches at the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. We'll unpack how GIC 2026 plans to convert over 312 billion Rand in investment pledges into shovel-ready projects that create jobs and accelerate inclusive growth. Don't miss 702 Drive with John Perlman, 3 to 6 p.m. in conversation with the Gauteng Growth and Development Agency, turning investment into impact. The 2026 Gauteng Investment Conference on 702.
WhatsApp Mandy
on 072 702 1702.
Hi, good afternoon, Mandy. Yeah, my question is why people should die for them to be recognized or laws should be made about the licenses. It was the school kids transport, and then it was also the spazas. They didn't have licenses. Now is this one, the high transport. So I don't know why what are the ministers doing? What are they doing? Because why should people die in order for this country to run smooth? Yeah, it's lamenting memory. Thank you. Bye.
On the WhatsApp line, hi Mandy, ad hoc committee only works for 3 days in a week from 11 hours. No sense of urgency, no extra efforts taken by these members. They're not serious. Let them go back to their constituency where their loyalty lies. I've been asking the question about the comparison between the ad hoc committee into policing, which has received an extension now to the end of March, and the Madlanga Commission as well. Sipho says, Mandy, ad hoc committee should close off. Politicians are grandstanding, doing beauty contests. They're trying to protect their criminals from Sipho. And then there's a few more about the gold digging as well, or the gold. And then somebody laughing that I was called Jane. So tomorrow we're getting Shadrack Sibiya, who's going to be testifying at the Madlanga Commission. And I've been saying that this is going to be a huge event, because for so long we've heard from Mkhwanazi, we've heard that the allegations against Shadrack Sibiya, and from the outset I was saying now it's important for us to hear all the sides. And finally at the Madlanga Commission we're going to be hearing from the Deputy National Commissioner Shadrack Sibiya. We've heard a lot about his relationship with Kat Matlala. So Oren Singh, EWN reporter, actually sat down with Shadrack Sibiya last year in March. He spoke with Shadrack Sibiya following claims of tensions between himself and the KZN Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. Oren did a wide-ranging interview in which Sibiya revealed that tensions between himself and Mkhwanazi stemmed from the murder investigation into AKA Kiernan Forbes. And then Sibiya had instructed Mkhwanazi's deputy to come to Gauteng to brief the police minister, Bheki Cele, on the investigations. And that's what it all stems from. So in anticipation of tomorrow's appearance by Shadrack Sibiya at the Madlanga Commission, take a listen to what he said to Oren Singh in March last year.
It is actually an embarrassment to the South African Police Service, and we must apologize to the public at large that senior managers such as us, we should be facing criminals together, fighting side by side rather than us facing each other. So I want to tell you now that at this point in time, I have never really fought with General Mkhwanazi, and we are not fighting at all. We've never exchanged words. Other than that disagreement that existed at that time, sometimes last year, and we spoke about it. And since then, it all went quiet. And remember, I can tell you that even the disagreement was a minor disagreement that just came as a result of communication. When in fact the former minister asked me that he wanted to meet a particular team for the work that they have done. And then from my side, I contacted the Deputy Provincial Commissioner instead of contacting the Provincial Commissioner himself. And he was upset about that.
So that is Shadrack Sibiya, the Deputy National Police Commissioner, who's going to be testifying tomorrow. A little taste there of what we might get tomorrow. We'll cover that all for you here on the Midday Report. Thank you so much for joining us. It's 1 o'clock, time for Eyewitness News.
This is EWN.
South Africa's unemployment rate decreases slightly and the gold rush continues in Springs in Ekurhuleni. Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. South Africa's official